I have a reading or an excerpt this morning entitled This Joy I Have. It's by Austin Channing Brown, who is a Black female New York Times bestselling author. It's from an anthology of writings from this great gem of a book called You Are Your Best Thing. It's an anthology of different writers by Brene Brown and Tarana Burke about shame, vulnerability, and the Black experience. In her essay, Channing Brown is talking about how she loves horror films. I have come to appreciate the momentary terror of a good, scary movie. There's a comfort in the relative familiarity of their beginnings, a delightful group of family members or friends having the time of their lives. There's laughter and joking and hugging and tenderness and an excitement for life hanging in the air. And then there is a split second where the good time seems too good to be true. A certain grimness slices through the merriment. There is now only before and after. It's a pattern that works for us because we intuitively recognize the jolt of fear that this is all too good to last. Parents feel it when kids are too happy and relaxed and snuggling. Partners feel it when love swells and overwhelms. Students feel it when everything seems to be breaking their way. In the moments when we are filled with joy, we wonder if there is a haunting force out there that will soon steal our joy away. In her book, Daring Greatly, our friend Brene calls this phenomenon foreboding joy. She explains, we're afraid that the feeling of joy won't last, or that there won't be enough, or that the transition to disappointment or whatever is in store for us next will be too difficult. We've learned that giving in to joy is at best setting ourselves up for disappointment and at worst inviting disaster. And we struggle with the worthiness issue. Do we deserve joy given our inadequacies and imperfections? And so we find ourselves shrinking back from moments of joy. We recoil from the feeling and to the varying degrees from the people who bring us pleasure. We withhold excitement in exchange for the preparations of disappointment. We steel our hearts for tragedy rather than softening into the vulnerabilities that make joy make us feel. I am certainly guilty of this. Whenever I talk with my only living grandmother, I worry that my joy means that she will soon pass away. When my husband plans for me to have time to myself, I worry that he and my son will get into a car accident, all because I was excited to read a book without interruption. But I have found a far more despicable agent of foreboding joy in the form of racism. For Black people and other people of color, there is a level of apprehension that isn't wrought from an uneasy feeling of undeservedness, but from the knowledge that racism is the silent stalker, always willing to wring joy from our lives. This level of foreboding joy is not in our heads, it's in the evidence of our experience. Channing goes on to tell specific stories of Black people telling about their experiences about not wanting to go out for a walk since the death of Ahmaud Arbery, or going on an RV trip through sundown towns, or letting their kids play in the park. While she wants to tell them that everything will be fine, there is nothing to fear. You should delight in the joy. She acknowledges the following. She says, I couldn't. In good conscience, I could not declare with any certainty that racism wouldn't continue to act as the villain in any good slasher movie. It might not be outrun. What do you do when you are all too aware that Blackness makes you uniquely vulnerable in the world? Traditionally, the Black community has relied on a spirituality born of hardship and humanity to declare a phrase popularized by gospel music artist Shirley Caesar. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. This is not to create a monolith of the Black community. I am in no way suggesting that all Black Americans have found refuge in the gospel of the Christian church. Instead, I mean only to point out a shared, rooted resilience and joy. Contained in this one sentence is a staunch declaration that if the world will take from me, it will do so only once, not twice. It cannot have both my tragedy and my joy. This posture is not giving in to foreboding joy. It does not suggest that since racism can steal from me, I will care about nothing and no one. Instead, it lives paradoxically at the intersection of joy and pain, realistically acknowledging that pain may come, but that pain cannot permanently drown out joy. After generations of horrific oppression, after a century of second-class citizenship, after a host of atrocities from colonization to genocide and all manner of horrors, we have learned that the only thing white supremacy would love more than taking our lives is for the lives that we have to be diminished, less than human, filled with despair containing only fear. But our community has learned that even the darkest depths of human evil cannot snuff out our experience of joy, of laughter, and of love, of good food and good conversation, of family legacy and hope for the future, of creative endeavor and the pursuit of justice. The joy of Blackness persists. This is the end of the reading. I have heard a lot of people say that they are exhausted. Exhausted from the ups and downs of the pandemic, from trying to manage it all, from the grind of daily life. It's not a like I've worked all day and I'm exhausted kind of feeling. It's a life exhaustion. We're exhausted from watching the news and seeing all the pain and the hardship going on. We're exhausted of worrying about our families, our community, our future. Are any of you exhausted? So what's the antidote for exhaustion? It seems like tired, it should be sleep. But I don't think that's it. I'm actually sleeping way more since the pandemic. I have a much shorter commute to my office down the hall. And really, how much TV can one person watch at night anyways? I'm actually getting plenty of sleep, but yet that doesn't cure my exhaustion. I think the antidote for exhaustion is joy. Joy that lifts our spirits and helps us to escape. That great belly laugh that shakes off all the fears, or that dancing to live music that relaxes you down to your core. That connection with another human being that makes you all warm inside. And I think it is that joy that we have missed in this pandemic more than anything. There's been more time for news and impending doom and less time for joy, which balances us out. So I'm here to echo Austin Channing Brown and to make the case for bringing more joy into our world. Because, we have a lot of work to do. And we can't let all of the anger, injustice, and worry sweep us away so that we're too exhausted to do the work. The poet Toy Dericote says, joy is an act of resistance. It is, right? Joy is saying to the world, you cannot take away my spirit, my essence, my joy, who I am. You can make me motivated enough to work, but you will not take away who I am. The song says, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. We weren't given like this certain allotment of joy when we were born that we have to sparingly keep and dole out in little pieces. No, we were born with the ability to laugh and coo and smile. We weren't given permission to be joyful. We were born joyful. The world didn't give it to me, and by golly, the world cannot take it away from me. Now, you all may have heard that my mother died a few weeks ago, and that has brought a level of grief that honestly I didn't know was possible. For all of you who have lost a loved one, I have a whole new level of compassion and solidarity for the range of emotions that grief brings. But the weekend, the Saturday after her memorial service, we also got to celebrate the engagement of our eldest son to his beloved. There was a party. It was outside, and we did it as safely as we possibly could. But it was also with family that I haven't seen in 2 years. And there was live music. And there was dancing and laughing and smiling and so much joy. And I just looked around and it filled me to the brim. And oh, I will tell you, I did not take one single second for granted. I don't think anyone did. I soaked it all up like that Bounty paper towel commercial showing that they are the better picker-upper. It was like, I just kept looking around and seeing people smiling and laughing, and I drank it in. So my challenge is, how do I find that joy without the party and the family and all the gathering? After all, it is still not something that many of us are doing abundantly right now. How do I make sure that I create opportunities to invite joy to recharge me? How do I prioritize letting go of my worry and making sure that nothing and no one takes that joy away from me? Joy can come from gratitude, from taking a moment to recognize all of the abundance and goodness that is around me. It can come from stopping by and smelling some of the beautiful flowers that are blooming around the desert because of the monsoons this summer. Of being grateful for my little space of back patio and the unique cloud formations that I see in the sky. Of the people in my life, both digitally and in person. And of the abundance of goodness that I see from this community. Joy is very deeply related to faith and hope, in seeing the hope and commitment of our children, in imagining the possibilities of a different world and working towards them, focusing on that vision rather than all the obstacles. And joy comes from the satisfaction of serving others. If you want to feel good, do a kind gesture. Write a note. Drop off a loaf of banana bread. Pumpkin bread, maybe even. Do a kind gesture. Bring in someone's garbage can. Pay for the next person's pumpkin spice latte in the drive-thru. Do something that will delight you because it will delight them. It gives a level of satisfaction that can bring a deep level of joy that can last your whole day long. And don't be afraid to be creative. Getting a new haircut, that deserves a celebration. Is it your 47th and 5/12th birthday? Great, have a cupcake. Mark the different transitions in your life and toast moments of happiness you notice as you go through your day. Dance, skip, even if it is just in your head. And you can find a moment in your next meeting or conversation to find something to laugh about. Take a moment with a loved one on the phone, Zoom, or in person to just let go and tell a good story, or recount a memory, or share a funny thing that happened in your day. Revel in the goofiness of your pets. Watch more funny videos. Goats in pajamas are one of my favorites. I urge us all to make it a priority because the work is hard. We need to be ready. If you need more sleep, I hope you get it, but maybe the antidote you're looking for is joy. Austin Channing Brown again. We decide not only that we will practice gratitude for the ways we are experiencing joy, but that we will do it with every bone in our body. We will love hard. We will dance with abandon. We will laugh loudly and often. We will declare our right to be in that store or that school or that neighborhood or that job. We will give our bodies the respect they so richly deserve for carrying us this far. I will love harder and in this, I will become softer. I will become vulnerable, open to being hurt because I trust my joy cannot be taken away. This joy I have, nope, the world didn't give it to me. It didn't. I have it all right here inside of me. And this joy that I have, I will not let the world take it away from me. I will hold on to it so I have the energy to do the work of justice, do the acts of love and kindness, and have the capacity to be fully human in this amazing world we live in. I hope you will too. So might it be for all of us.